Welcome back to the channel, Racer X here, and today I want to do a short video about an article that I came across written by the guys over at Motor Trend about what's going on at Maserati. And I realized that if you're a Mopar person or even if you are a domestic person, you may not necessarily care. However, you may want to pay very close attention to this, especially if you are a Mopar fan, because it has implications for you as well. After all, they do sit under the same Stellantis umbrella. So we'll talk about it today. Also, guys, if you're brand new to my channel, please don't forget to hit subscribe. Only 17% of you guys watching at home are actually subscribed to my channel. Also, don't forget to hit that notification bell so you get my brand new content as soon as it comes out, and off we go.
T-minus 15 seconds.
For many of us, when we think about high-end Italian exotics, we think about brands like Ferrari or Lamborghini. Well, truth is, Maserati has been out there doing their thing for quite some time as well, and they make some pretty darn cool cars. As a matter of fact, a lot of the technology that goes into Ferraris also bled over into Maseratis, including a lot of the engine technology. So they are pretty darn cool cars, and they're not quite as expensive as a lot of the Ferrari line, not quite as exclusive, but still very cool cars. And I realize a lot of people watching at home are like, well, look, I don't care about Maserati. It's just not in my wheelhouse. And look, Racer X, we pretty much watch you for the domestic content. I get that. But if you are a fan of Mopar, you realize that they have said, and they made no bones about it, the V8's are going away. So all of the big hemis after 2023 no longer going to be a thing. And that really did upset a lot of people because they felt like that was sort of the identity of Dodge, is big Hemi V8s. Now under the Stellantis umbrella, they're being forced to go with vehicles kind of like the Hornet. Now, I've driven the Hornet. It's an okay car, but essentially it's just a rebranded Alfa Romeo, same parent umbrella as you can see, and Dodge is being kind of forced down this rabbit hole, if you will, of something other than really what that company represents. So a lot of people are kind of up in arms about this. So for those of you unaware with the Maserati lineup, they have a couple of really cool sedans, one of which is called the Ghibli, and the other is called the Quadroporte. They also have a really neat small SUV called the Levante, and they actually have 3 different power levels in each of those that are very, very similar. They have sort of the base trim, then they have the Modena trim, which is upgraded, and then of course they have the Bad Daddy Trofeo, and that is actually my favorite. Of course, that's the most expensive of the trims, as you would expect, but traditionally they would put a twin turbo 3.8 liter V8 in those, and it makes 580 horsepower. So it's an engine that makes power very efficiently, very quick. Those cars sound absolutely fantastic. Well, Maserati has come out and said, look, after 2023, guess what? That trim level, the Trofeo trim level, that awesome fire-breathing 3.8 liter twin turbo V8 will no longer be a thing. They're being forced to go just essentially with the V6 twin turbo level. So once again, we have a Stellantis company saying, look, V8s are now going to be a thing of the past. So this is just one more really cool company. In my mind, this is kind of the coolest European company that Stellantis owns. Well, they're going completely away from their V8 line, so don't expect to see that 580 horsepower twin turbo V8 after the end of this year. There are a couple other cars that are pretty noteworthy when it comes to the Maserati lineup, so I thought I would touch on these really quick because one would think, based on their power numbers, that these also had V8s, but they don't. One of which is the Gran Turismo. I actually really like this car. I've seen a few of these on the road now, and they do have a really nice presence on the road. Very European, but it doesn't come with a V8. It's actually a 3-liter V6, 542 horsepower, and fairly light for a European car like this, but a very cool car indeed. And then the other one, of course, I like even better, and that is the MC20. What a bad looking machine this is. And this one was really completely off my radar. I've never even seen one of these before. I'm told it's like 275 grand for one of these bad daddies, and 620 horsepower out of a twin turbo 6-cylinder on this particular one. That's actually their new Nettuno engine. So a very formidable engine indeed, but not a V8. This is all part of Maserati's initiative called the Dare Forward 2030 program, which essentially says by 2025, they are going to have internal combustion offerings, which are essentially your V6 turbos and sometimes your 4-cylinder turbos, no V8s in the lineup, or hybrid vehicles. And then going into 2030, they plan to have all of their vehicles, their entire lineup, fully electric. That is just part of what they're doing right now. What can you do? My entire purpose for making this video was really just to talk about the relationship between Stellantis and then of course Maserati and Dodge being under that same umbrella, and why the V8s for Maserati going away are important and obviously mean a lot for the Dodge folks out there that didn't necessarily believe that Dodge was going to get rid of their Hemi V8s like they said they would.
And it's really important that we need to talk about the 23 model year Chargers and Challengers will be the last of the Hemi powered L cars that we build. And when that window closes, there's no reopening it. Production ends December of 23.
Would. And a lot of people thought, oh, well, maybe they're going to give us some alternative fuel V8s. Maybe they're going to give us just a revised V8 that's not an iron block. None of that stuff is true. Nothing is leading us to that conclusion, but a lot of folks just said, well, what is Dodge without big Hemi V8s? And maybe that is a valid question, but this is more evidence to serve the fact that, yeah, Stellantis, they do not want V8s moving into the future. They really feel like the twin turbo V6s of the world, the hybrids, and then of course the fully electric. We know Maserati has a 1200 horsepower electric coming down the pipe that is most likely to appear next year about the same time as the Banshee, so imagine that. But guys, that is just a sign of the times. And when you really think about it, you've got Ford out there still putting out their V8 and the new GT and the Dark Horse, and who knows, they're going to give us a Shelby version soon too. And then of course, Chevy is still putting the Camaro out, at least for the time being, and they're going to continue to put V8s in their new Corvettes. So it is kind of a sucky thing, and it's very telling the fact that Dodge can no longer put V8s in their cars. Well, if you didn't think Stellantis was to blame, you should take another look. So for the V8 purists out there, this is yet another blow, because now we see another company going away from V8s. Matter of fact, we're starting to see more news about V8s just going away left and right with different companies. And yeah, it is kind of upsetting. Now from a power perspective, these 6-cylinder turbos, whether it's a V6 or an inline 6, they're going to be pretty spectacular. As a matter of fact, just because they have 2 less cylinders doesn't necessarily going to mean they make less power. In many instances, they're actually going to make more power. They're going to be more fuel efficient, and really by every measure they're just going to be better, with the exception of sound. And I know that is a big thing for a lot of people out there, so it does give us something to think about there. So I would love to know what you guys think about the fact that now we have Maserati, traditionally an Italian high-end sports car maker, going completely away from the V8s. It's definitely a weird thing and a sign of the time. So let me know what you think in the comments below, and I'll catch you on the next one. So until then, Racer X.